You think destruction comes with fire and fury. You think the enemy kicks down the door, shouting and screaming, trying to shatter your world. But that's not how real demons move. That's not how they win. They don't break you with force. They get you to break yourself. They make you question your worth. They poison your confidence. They whisper doubt, feed fear, and disguise manipulation as love. And before you even realize what's happening, you're no longer the warrior you once were. You're a shell. You're tired. You're stuck. And worst of all, you think it's your fault. That's the art of a demon. They don't destroy you with obvious hate. They do it with slow decay. They infect your mind. And if you don't fight back early, you'll spend years trying to remember who you used to be before they got inside your head. A demon doesn't have horns. A demon doesn't announce itself. A demon plays the long game. It watches, it studies, it learns your weaknesses. Then it shows up as a friend, a lover, a mentor. It shows up when you're vulnerable. It gives you what you crave. Attention, validation, comfort. But it always comes at a cost. Because a demon is never interested in your growth. A demon is only interested in control. And once it has that, it doesn't need to attack you anymore. You'll do the rest. You'll shrink your dreams. You'll silence your voice. You'll apologize for your light. You'll question your intuition. And one day you'll wake up wondering why you feel so far from yourself. That's how demons win. Not with war, but with influence. Not with pain, but with persuasion. They convince you to abandon yourself. And that's the real tragedy. Not that they tried to hurt you, but that they got you to participate in your own undoing. You've seen it happen. Maybe it's happened to you. Someone came into your life and little by little you stopped being you. You stopped speaking up. You started doubting your talent. You started walking smaller, thinking less, asking permission. And it wasn't because you were weak. It was because they studied you. They found the cracks in your confidence and chipped away at them until you believed the lie that you weren't enough, that your voice didn't matter, that your instincts were wrong. And once you believed that, they didn't need to control you anymore. You were doing it for them. Demons are masterful at disguise. They say all the right things. They show up when it benefits them. They mirror your wounds. They pretend to be exactly what you need. Because that's how they gain access. They don't come to destroy, they come to distract. They come to delay, they come to drain. And you won't even realize the cost until you're staring at the wreckage of your goals, your spirit, your joy. But the moment you wake up, the moment you name it, that's when you begin to reclaim your power. Because the truth is, no one can break you without your permission. The danger isn't that someone tries to hurt you. The danger is when you internalize their lies and call it truth. The danger is when you let their voice become louder than your own. The danger is when you forget who you were before they made you doubt it. And that's why you need to become a master at recognizing the pattern. Because once you see it, you can stop it. Once you feel it, you can cut it off. But if you stay blind to it, you will keep handing yourself over to people who were never sent to grow you. They were sent to slow you down. This is where self-awareness becomes your weapon. Because the earlier you notice the signs, the gaslighting, the guilt-tripping, the emotional chaos, the faster you protect yourself. A demon can only manipulate what you're unsure of. So the stronger you stand in who you are, the less room they have to move. The more rooted you are in your purpose, your values, your direction, the more impossible it becomes for someone to hijack your spirit. They may try, but you won't break. Because you'll no longer be available for that kind of destruction. But this also requires brutal honesty. You have to be willing to admit when someone's influence is corrupting your path. You have to be willing to look at relationships, not just for how they make you feel in the moment, but for how they shape your future. Are they fueling your fire or draining it? Are they celebrating your growth or shrinking when you shine? Are they empowering you or confusing you? Because if you're constantly second-guessing yourself around someone, that's not love. That's control. That's a demon in disguise. And the sooner you name it, the sooner you can get out. Here's the part most people miss. A demon doesn't need to hate you to hurt you. Some demons genuinely think they love you, but their love is twisted, possessive, conditional. It's a love that only exists when you're small, when you're obedient, when you're easy to handle. But the moment you rise, the moment you get bold, they feel threatened. And suddenly that love turns into criticism, guilt, silent treatment, sabotage. Because they never loved you. They loved the version of you they could control. That's not love, that's bondage. And you don't have to keep it. You don't owe anyone your downfall. You don't owe anyone your silence. You don't owe anyone your peace. You are not here to dim for someone else's comfort. You are not here to bleed so someone else can feel whole. You are not here to walk on eggshells in a life that was meant to be bold. You are here to rise, to roar, to become. And anyone who makes you question that, even with a smile on their face, is not for you. That is the difference between someone sent to bless you and someone sent to block you. So protect your light, guard your spirit, set boundaries like your life depends on it, because it does. Learn the difference between criticism and projection, between challenge and sabotage, between mentorship and manipulation, because demons love to wear the costume of a guide, but real mentors don't shrink you. They don't gaslight you. They don't make you feel small to feel big. Real mentors pull you forward. They sharpen you, they hold you accountable, but they don't control you. And if someone is always trying to make you doubt yourself, question your worth, abandon your path, that's not growth. That's a trap. That's a demon at work. And you have the right to walk away. No matter how long they've been in your life, no matter how deep the history, history doesn't justify damage. Time doesn't equal trust. Loyalty is not bondage, and freedom is not selfish. You were not created to be a puppet. You were not born to be molded by someone else's fear. You were built for more. And if someone is standing in the way of that, they don't deserve access to your journey. You have to stop letting people rewrite your truth. You have to stop giving people permission to silence your intuition. You have to stop trading your peace for proximity. Just because someone is close doesn't mean they belong. Just because someone claps doesn't mean they care. Look deeper, feel deeper, listen to what your soul is trying to say. The discomfort, the anxiety, the confusion, it's not always a sign you're weak. Sometimes it's your inner warrior screaming, get out, this is not your path. You must become unshakable in who you are. Because when you know who you are, demons can't manipulate you. When you know your voice, gaslighting won't work. When you know your value, guilt won't move you. When you know your mission, distractions won't derail you. You don't need to fight every battle, you just need to stop inviting the enemy to dinner. You just need to stop letting energy vampires drink from your cup. You just need to stop negotiating with people who profit from your silence. And once you do that, once you draw that line, everything changes. You rise, you evolve, you become unstoppable. Because the greatest power in this world is not just knowing who you are, it's refusing to become who you're not for the sake of someone else. And when you master that, demons lose all power. Because you're no longer breakable from within. You've closed the door they used to walk through. You've healed the wounds they used to exploit. You've reclaimed the fire they tried to dim. And now you walk as a warrior, quiet. So remember this, demons don't break you. They get you to break yourself. Don't hand them the weapon. Don't echo their voice in your mind. Don't carry their fear like it's your truth. Stand, rise, speak, move. Let them call it arrogance. Let them call it rebellion. Let them call it whatever they want. You call it freedom. You call it healing. You call it power. Because it is, and it's yours. We live in a world obsessed with connection, obsessed with the noise, obsessed with the group. People will tell you every step of the way that you need to stick close, stay loyal, stay available, stay surrounded, stay liked. But there's a deeper truth, one that will make some people uncomfortable, but will set your soul on fire when you finally understand it. Real power is not in how many people surround you. Real power is knowing when to walk alone, without flinching, to protect your peace. Because not every connection serves you, not every crowd lifts you, not every hand you hold is guiding you forward. And if you don't learn when to detach, you will carry demons in your pocket thinking they're allies. Too often, we confuse noise for momentum. We mistake busy circles for meaningful ones. We surround ourselves with people who fill the air but drain the spirit. Why? Because we are afraid to be alone, afraid of silence, afraid of what it means to walk a path no one else understands. But here's the hard truth. There are parts of your journey no one else will walk with you. Not because they don't care, but because they're not built for it. They don't carry your calling, they don't see your vision, and that's not a flaw, it's your signal. Power starts when you choose your path over your popularity. It begins the moment you stop looking for validation in every voice and start listening to your own. Because real power is quiet. It doesn't need to be loud to be felt. It doesn't need the crowd to be true. Real power is found in stillness, in choosing peace over pressure, in understanding that walking alone isn't a punishment. It's often a requirement for elevation. The strongest version of you will never be born in a room full of people who don't understand your value. The strongest version of you will be born when you step away, when you unplug from the chaos and protect the sanctuary of your mind. You cannot rise surrounded by confusion. You cannot grow around constant comparison. And you cannot build peace in the presence of people who only thrive in dysfunction. Some people feed off drama. Some people love you better when you're broken because it makes them feel powerful. Some people only come alive when things are falling apart. These are not your people. These are not your mirrors. These are distractions wearing human faces. And the longer you stay tied to their energy, the longer you delay your breakthrough. Let's be real. Most people are terrified of solitude. Not because it's painful, but because it's honest. Because when the noise dies down, the truth gets loud. That's when you start to hear what your intuition has been screaming all along. That relationship is killing your spirit. That friend is really an anchor. That environment is draining your light. But as long as you're surrounded, you stay numb, you stay distracted, you stay plugged into chaos, and that's the trap. Solitude forces clarity, and clarity is the key to power. When you walk alone, you find your rhythm. You hear your own thoughts. You remember who you were before the world told you what you should be. You reconnect with your truth, not their version of it. And from that place, you rise. You move differently. You love differently. You protect yourself differently. Not because you're cold, but because you're finally awake. There is nothing weak about walking alone. It doesn't mean you failed. It means you've outgrown. It means you've seen through the masks. It means you value peace over performance. And the moment you realize that peace is more valuable than attention, your standards change. That's not pride. That's protection. Real power is not how loud you can be, it's how disciplined you can stay. Can you choose your peace when the world is begging for your reaction? Can you stay still when your old patterns are pulling you into war? Can you detach without guilt? Can you say no more without explanation? That's power, that's growth. That's what walking alone gives you, the ability to govern your life without outside permission. We romanticize the grind, we glorify loyalty even when it's toxic. But loyalty without discernment is slavery. You are not obligated to stay where your soul is shrinking. You are not selfish for saying this energy is not for me anymore. That's wisdom, that's survival, and anyone who truly loves you will understand that. Because people who want you small will call your solitude distance. People who want control will call your peace arrogant. Let them. Their words don't define your walk. Your alignment does. You'll know you're stepping into your power when solitude feels like a sanctuary, not a sentence. When your own company becomes enough. When your silence is no longer awkward, but sacred. That's when the shift happens. That's when your vision gets clearer, your steps get bolder, your spirit gets stronger. Because you're no longer moving to be seen, you're moving to be real. You're moving to be aligned. You're moving to be free. And yes, it's lonely at first. That's the test. That's the initiation. But let me tell you something important. You are not meant to stay lonely. You're meant to be selective. The point of walking alone is not to isolate forever. It's to detox. To remove the wrong energies so the right ones can enter. You don't attract peace by living in chaos. You don't find clarity in confusion. You must clean the space, and sometimes that means seasons of solitude. Your future will thank you for every step you took alone, for every boundary you enforced, for every person you walked away from who couldn't meet you where you were headed. Because the higher you climb, the smaller your circle becomes. Not because you don't love, but because you finally learned to love yourself more. And that's not ego, that's healing. If you want to lead, learn to be alone. If you want to master your craft, learn to be misunderstood. If you want to protect your mind, learn to say no and mean it. That's not harsh, that's healthy. The world will tell you to stay soft, stay open, stay agreeable, but you're not here to please. You're here to evolve. You're here to rise. And that takes courage, that takes separation, that takes walking away from what's familiar to step into what's destined. You don't need to explain yourself to people who only hear what fits their comfort. You don't need to prove your worth to people who benefit from your self-doubt. You don't need to apologize for choosing silence over chaos. You owe no one an explanation for your peace. That's yours. You earned it. You fought for it. And if protecting it means walking alone for a while, so be it. So let the crowd fade. Let the noise die down. Let the invitations stop. Because what you gain in solitude is unshakable. Self-respect, clarity, focus, and power. When you know who you are without applause, no one can manipulate you with validation. When you know what you stand for in the silence, no one can sway you in the storm. That's the kind of presence that walks into any room and shifts the energy without saying a word. Understand this. Not everyone will understand your walk because they've never walked alone themselves. They fear what you've already conquered, but that's not your burden. Your responsibility is